Have you ever flipped through a book or a journal and felt like every page was the same? Same layout, same prompt, same rhythm. The book might be useful, but it feels a bit flat, like the journey isn't really going anywhere. Hello, home bosses. Today I want to share why that happens and how to stop your own books feeling repetitive. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to give your book a sense of rhythm and movement, whether it's a journal, a picture book, an activity book, or any other kind of book that you might create. And stay until the end because I have a free planning worksheet for you. It's the same one I use when I'm mapping out the structure of any new book, and I will leave the link below the video. So this is the third video in my series on production design, and the first two were about the margins and the gutter of your books and the front and back pages. So I will link those two videos below this one as well. So let's get into it. I want to show you something. Let me grab two journals. So here's the first one. It's an affirmation journal, and if I flip through it, let's see if I can do that. You can see that every page is nearly identical. It's got the same decorative elements under each sentence. So I hope you can see that in the camera. So they're pretty much the same. Okay. And now let me show you the second one. It's the same kind of book. This is also an affirmation journal, but watch what happens when I flick through. Every page is different. There are images breaking up the pages, and there are pages to indicate what week you are on. So both books contain similar content. They both ask the reader to transform the way they think and act to help them achieve more success. But the second one feels like more of a journey. The first one feels a little monotonous and repetitive, and the difference is something called flow. This is one of the most common things I see in self-published books, especially in low content. The author has thought carefully about the prompts or the puzzles or the activities, depending on what book it is, but they haven't thought about the rhythm of the book. So the reader gets to page 20 and feels a bit bored, and the book gets put away. And the good news is that fixing this is much simpler than people think. So, what is flow? Flow is the rhythm of a book, like I said, and the way it moves from beginning to the end, the pacing, the journey. So every book has a flow, whether you plan one or not. The question is whether the flow is the one that you wanted. For picture books, flow is mostly about page turns, where they happen, what is on the left page and what is on the right, when the reader pauses before something happens, and when they are surprised by what appears on the next page. There's a really good example in a book that I'm just going to show you quickly. This is One Ted Falls Out of Bed. This is a children's picture book by Julia Donaldson and Anna Curry. And I just wanted to show you what I mean by the flow. So you can see, I don't know if the camera will pick this up. Yep. You can see that there's a picture spread. So you get the whole image is on two pages, and you've got the text here and then the text here as well. And then when you go on to the next page, so what double pages or spreads do is they slow down the pace of the book a little bit. And the story continues, and I just want to show you where it gets interesting. So here are two pages, and the story is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 red bricks, and then Ted is at the very top when, and this is where it kind of stops the pace of the book. And the page turn, this is what I meant by page turn. The page turn is what builds the excitement. So all of a sudden then it says 10 bricks crash, 9 frogs hop, and 8 balloons go bang, snap, pop. So it's like a surprise. So this is what we mean by pace when it comes to especially children's books. It's a double page like that, a spread slows it down, and then you turn the page and something happens, and that's what builds the excitement. So that is an example of what I meant by the pace and the flow of the book. So for low content books, flow is about structure. For example, section breaks, milestone pages, variations between pages, moments of reflection or change. And it's what stops a 90-day journal from feeling like 90 identical pages. And for written books, flow is about chapter pacing, how long each chapter is, where the natural pauses fall, and how the reader moves through the narrative. And in all three cases, flow is the difference between a book that feels considered and a book that just feels like a stack of pages. In a way, you can think of it like a song. A good song has verses and a chorus and a bridge. It builds, it pauses, and then it surprises. And a bad song is just the same line repeated over and over. And books work the same way. Let me share 4 practical things that you can do to give your books better flow. Number one is map out the structure before you design any pages. And this is the single most important thing. Before you start designing in Canva or in Atticus or wherever you create your books, sit down and map out the structure first. Ask yourself 3 questions. Where does the reader pause? Where does something change, and where does it feel like progress is being made? So for a 90-day journal, for example, you might decide to split it into 3 30-day phases. Each phase has a slightly different focus. There is a milestone page between each phase, and there's an opening section at the front for setting intentions, a closing section at the back for reflection. So I can show you an example in one of my own books. This is Switch Your Light On. So this is a guided journal which accompanies my other book, The Positivity Switch. So what I've done here to make it less monotonous is that I've got the sort of introduction page to each chapter, and then I've got a little image there to break it up. I've got a little sentence here that explains a little bit more about what this section is, and then I've got the sections where people have to fill in what they are doing. So there's instructions in this book as well on how to do that, and that continues on these pages. And then when they have finished these pages, there is a kindness jar, for example. So it gives you like a little a little task to complete, and that breaks the book up, and then you get the next chapter. And what I've also done, let's see if I can find it quickly. So there's always a final reflection on each chapter. So that kind of closes the chapter, and then you start the new chapter. So I'm just checking on my camera to see if you can see it. So there it is, and also little illustrations, and that really helps to make the book a little bit less repetitive, because that's the danger when you're making prompted journals or even planners, things like that. So try and make them make the pages not repetitive. That's the main thing that you can do. And for a picture book, it's a little bit different. You might decide that page 8 is where the surprise happens, like we had in that children's book. So you design the spread before it as quiet and calm, and you make sure the page turn falls right before the surprise. So you can calm down your story. I'm trying to see if there's any other examples I can show you. Here's another one, The Secret Path by Nick Butterworth. And this one is quite a nice little book. Again, you can see it's not repetitive. It doesn't have like a picture and the text, picture and the text, like some of my books are made like that. And within time, you learn how to improve on that. So you can see here that it's got text and then a little vignette image and then text again, and then it's got a main image on the other side. But then the next page is completely different again. So you've got a vignette image and with the text on the same page, and it carries on. Then you have another which is just an image on that page, and then text with a smaller image on that one. So it's not repetitive at all. You've got another one here. Can you see how the pages are all different? Here's another one where the image is on one page and there's just an image and no text, and the text is on the opposite page. So it just switches it up a little bit. And there are lots of books that, children's books in particular, they need to have that little bit of variety so that they're not too monotonous. Some books can be monotonous, and it depends on the type of book that it is. Sometimes if it's a rhyming book, sometimes that helps the rhyme. So it's up to you how you decide to do that, but try and think of making your book very varied so that it's not monotonous and that people don't get bored while reading it. And I've made plenty of mistakes like that, so I really know the difference that this can make. And for an activity book, you might decide that activities get progressively harder with a clear marker between easy, medium, and difficult. So that's another way you can split up your activity books. You can just make the first half easier than the second half, something like that. And in every case, you are planning the journey before you build the pages. So this is what stops your book feeling repetitive. Number two is use spreads thoughtfully in picture books. A spread is when an image or scene goes across two pages, like I showed you earlier. So when the book is open flat, you see one big picture. And spreads are powerful because they create a sense of scale or importance. The biggest moments in a picture book usually happen on spreads. And I think we had that in this book here. That is a spread because you can see the whole room in the image. So it's almost like one continuous image. And then on the next page is where something happens. So a spread kind of, in my opinion, tends to calm things down, or they give you the anticipation of something is going to happen. So that's one way of using images together with text to create. You're creating feelings, really. You're creating a feeling of, I want to know what happens next, or you create a feeling of, this is nice and calm, or you create a feeling of surprise when you turn the page. So that's what this video is all about creating feelings in books so that they don't just have the same page on every page. And if every page in your picture book is a spread, the spreads lose their impact. So if no page is a spread, the book feels small and uniform, and the trick is to use spreads selectively for the moments that matter the most. I remember I did one book where it was all spreads in my picture book, and I kind of thought something doesn't feel right about the book. And it's only now that I realize what that was, because every page was a spread, so it was a little bit monotonous. So it's best to switch it up a little bit. So I would aim to have 3 or 4 spreads in a typical picture book, used for the most important emotional or visual moments, and everything else can be single pages. So, number 3 is add milestone or reflection pages in low content books, like I showed you in my own book there. This is the easiest fix for any low content book that feels repetitive. So, just add pages that break up that rhythm. And in a journal, this might be a halfway check in page that asks the reader to reflect on how things are going. In a planner, this might be a monthly review section. In an activity book, this might be a you did it certificate or a celebration page. So these pages do not have to be complicated, they just need to be different from the main content pages. And the visual change is what signals to the reader that something has shifted. That feeling of, I have crossed a threshold, I've advanced in something. That is what keeps people engaged. So, number 4 is vary your pages even within the main content. This is more subtle but really powerful. Even within the main content of a journal or planner, small variations can help. A gratitude journal could have a quick prompt page every Monday, a longer reflection page every Friday, and a free writing page every Sunday, for example. And 3 different pages types in a weekly cycle so that they're not all the same. And a puzzle book could group puzzles by type. So the reader does 5 word searches, then 5 crosswords, then 5 Sudokus, for example, and the variation keeps the experience interesting. A children's activity book could alternate between drawing pages, coloring pages, and writing pages. The reader never knows quite what is coming next, and that makes the book exciting. And this is one of the easiest improvements you can make. Even small variations in page layout, prompt structure, or activity type can transform how a book feels. And if you have a book already published that feels repetitive, here's the good news: you can fix it. So just open your interior file, look at the rhythm of your pages, ask yourself the 3 questions. Where does the reader pause? Where does something change? And where does it feel like progress is being made? And if you cannot answer those, you have a flow problem. And the fix is usually to add a few new pages in the right places. Maybe a section break every 20 or 30 pages, maybe a reflection page in the middle, or maybe a celebration page at the end. So just remember that adding pages changes your total page count, which changes the spine width on your cover. So you will need to update your cover at the same time using the KDP cover calculator. And I will leave a link below this video to that. And if you're starting a brand new book, plan the flow before you design anything. That is the single biggest improvement you can make to how your book feels. So let me share the 3 most common flow mistakes that I see. The first is identical pages from start to finish. That's a little bit what we had in this book here. I bought this book because I'm really interested in affirmations and mindfulness and things like that. And I have to say I was a little bit disappointed because I think it's just 2 quotes per page. So I know it's about the quotes and not about the book, how it looks and all that. But for me, it's both. I think a book needs to look. I don't know. I just expected a little bit more from it. On the plus side, I suppose you could say that it lets you concentrate on the message. So I guess some people might like this. For me, it was a little bit repetitive, I have to say, because all the pages, as you can see, they're all the same. So I would have done that a little bit differently, but I would say look at your books and see if they're varied enough. Have you created a variation in your pages? So in this particular book, the author has not built in any variation. So the book to me feels a bit flat. And the fix is to add at least 3 different page types and rotate between them. The second is no section breaks in long books. A 200-page journal with no sections feels endless, and the fix is to break it into clear phases, ideally with a milestone page between each one. And the third is wasted page turns in picture books. The author has not thought about which moments deserve a spread and which work better on a single page. And the fix is to storyboard the book at thumbnail size before any final art and identify the 3 or 4 moments that need most visual space. So that will depend on the story you're telling. And if you're publishing children's picture books, you'll know what I'm talking about. So let me quickly recap. Flow is the rhythm of your book. It's what stops the reader feeling like every page is the same. And the most important thing you can do is plan the structure before you design any pages. Ask where the reader pauses, where something changes, and where it feels like progress is being made. And use spreads thoughtfully in picture books. Add milestone or reflection pages in low content books, and vary your page layouts even within the main content. And if you would like a head start, I've made a free planning worksheet for you, and it is the same one I use when I am mapping out the structure of any new book. It walks you through the questions to ask and gives you space to plan the journey of your book before you design a single page. And the link is in the description below. Just go ahead and grab that. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. So this is the third video in my series on production design. There are two more coming, one on typography and one on format. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss them. And you can also find this topic and more inside my Home Boss Academy membership. I have a mini course on production design in there with extra lessons and more templates. And I will leave a link below to that as well. So it basically goes really deep into what we have discussed here today. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. Which of your own books do you think has the strongest flow? And which ones might need a bit of work? Let me know. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that, and take care of your business and take care of yourself. See you in the next video. Bye for now.